Much like our 2-issue romp with Vegas over an Amazing Fantasy, Six Guns is set in the modern Marvel Universe, circa 2012. I actually remember seeing this book solicited back in the day, but I slept on this one. I didn't get it when it first came out. I had been largely unimpressed by author Andy Diggle's then-contemporary Daredevil run, which had culminated in the massive crossover called Shadowlands. At the time, I thought that I was done with Daredevil. All Hornhead has no personal connection to me, right? I only started buying it because author Ed Brubaker had been killing it during his time on the title. But after a brief pause in Daredevil's publishing, Marvel announced that author Mark Waid would be taking over the reins on Daredevil. And Waid is a personal favorite. I just had to see what that run was going to look like. That meant picking up the coda to Diggle's run, a miniseries called Daredevil Reborn. There, Diggle and artist Davide Gianfelice sent Matt into the desert, and he had his own dusty, crime-ridden adventure in the Marvel West. And they had such a good time doing it that Diggle pitched a modern Western to his editor at the time, Tom Brevoort. In an interview with CBR, Diggle said that he was fully expecting to get rejected. He knew how well Westerns did in the market. But, to his surprise, Marvel said yes. They loved the idea, actually. Diggle and Gianfelice began work on a modern Western, utilizing the names of old characters, but for mostly brand new, modern ones. No one here has any family connection to their namesake. We're not going to see the grandson of the Two-Gun Kid, or the Black Rider, or anything like that. We will see some names that we should be familiar with at this point, but otherwise, this is pretty much all new. And that's exciting. Let's get into it. My name is Ben, and this is Comic Book Breakdown episode 19.17, Six Guns. As excited as I am to talk about this book, I also feel like I have been taking forever on these past few Western episodes. I loved you, Mighty Marvel Western Event, but good God! So I'm going to move pretty fast on this one. We're covering 5 issues in one episode, and let's go. Our story opens with an arrested woman, Maria Vasquez, being freed from a Texas Ranger transport by the Black Rider motorcycle gang. One of the Rangers is killed in the scuffle, leaving Ranger Tex Dawson alive and wanting some justice. The Black Riders then turn Maria over to the people who employed them, a mysterious group in nice black suits. The group pays the Riders, take Maria, and they leave, just in time for the Riders to discover the bomb planted in their payment. The bomb goes off, killing all of the gang, except for their leader, a man named Jefferson Cole. This sets us off on a journey to the South American nation of San Diablo. San Diablo is currently caught in a bit of a quiet civil war. The northern half of the country is Santa Maria, and they have hired the Kane Meyer private military contractor to act as their national army. To the south, what's known as Sierra del Diablo, another PMC called Blackguard is in charge. What they are doing in San Diablo, what they want with Maria, and how their actions have impacted on our cast lie at the heart of this narrative. Maria, naturally, is out to clear her name and prove that while, yes, she did kill those 2 men that she was arrested for, she did so in self-defense, and those men were sent to kill her by Blackguard. Dawson investigates because he doesn't understand why someone would hire the Black Riders to kidnap Maria and then kill the Riders. He can tell that something more is going on here. Jefferson Cole, the Black Rider, mostly wants revenge for his murdered girlfriend Delilah and the rest of his gang. When we arrive in San Diablo, we also meet a mercenary named Matt Slade, who joins this mess because he wants to steal Maria out from under Blackguard's nose for the bounty on her. And then we have the new Two-Gun Kid. As the story goes on, we learn that Blackguard and Kane Meyer are actually owned by the same company when you work your way through the chain of shell companies behind them. And that company is the good old Marvel staple called Roxxon. If you're reading a Marvel comic and a massive corporation is up to no good, you can bet that it is probably Roxxon doing it. Anyway, San Diablo took out a loan to pay for the PMCs to the tune of millions of dollars based on the mineral rights to one of their mines. The mineral in question? Vibranium. That's right, one of Marvel's rarest resources, generally only found in the African nation of Wakanda or in the Savage Land, which is located in the Antarctic. But our cast of characters discover that the vibranium is actually a lie, and that is why Blackguard and Kane Meyer have gone to such lengths to protect the secret of it. If anyone ever learned that the mine did not have vibranium, then those loans are no good. Blackguard and Kane Meyer would be out millions of dollars, and as their owner, Roxxon would be too. The company would lose a fortune, public goodwill, and whatever control they have over San Diablo's two warring halves. The mine secret was originally discovered by the two-gun kid's older brother, Fernando, and he, in turn, hired Maria to find proof. He could then expose Roxxon, or maybe blackmail them. We don't really get to know what his plan was at the time, because he's dead, and he did not tell the two-gun kid. That's actually what led to Maria being attacked. She killed the two men, fled back to America, got arrested by Tex Dawson, and, well, now you know the rest, which leads us into the rest of our narrative. Naturally, the Six Guns go through all kinds of trouble to learn this information and navigate their own story paths in order to come together. They end up in a final confrontation at the mine, they manage to fend off the PMCs long enough to figure out the secret, and then they escape. When they do, they hunt down the man who was in charge of this operation, a blonde nerd with glasses named Vance, and the book ends with them in his hotel room, their six guns pointed at him. Do they arrest him? Kill him? Expose him and Roxxon? We aren't told. The book just ends there. Now, I don't know how interesting I just made the story sound because I kind of just vomited it to y'all as fast and succinctly as I could. In reality, Diggle drip feeds these revelations over the course of the 5 issues, making sure that the clues are all there, but that we, as the audience, won't have a chance to put it together until we reach the end of the comic. The rest of each issue is built around the intense action sequences and some really fun character work. And I have to say, those 3 pieces of the story, the politics, action, and personality, all come together really well in this. In that 2009 interview I mentioned, Diggle said that he and Gianfelice were going for an action movie feel to this comic, and I can absolutely see that. The issues are fairly easy to read, they move really quickly, and they're pretty fun to look at. Normally, when I do a breakdown, I will write up 1 comic book per day of whatever series I'm talking about. That gives me plenty of time to consider how the book was written. Does it serve the narrative well? How are the characters presented? That kind of thing. Like, do a really in-depth breakdown. But when I originally wrote up 6 Guns, I managed to cover 3 issues in 1 afternoon. This sense of speed makes 6 Guns feels like it's a really light read, but honestly, there's just not a lot of fat on these bones. This book is efficient. There was a short recap page at the start of each issue, and really, that is the driest, slowest part of each one. Within the story itself, Diggle is focused on keeping things moving fast, and it works. If all that political background stuff bored you, don't worry. It's the backdrop that everything happens against, absolutely, but it is tucked behind the scenes very nicely. I'm reminded of the political machinations that attempted to drive the story of Two Gun Kid and the Sunset Riders, actually. Where that book had too many moving pieces, too many characters, and way too much dry dialogue, though, all of which killed the story, 6 Gun stays lean. Diggle gives us just one face for the bad guys, Vance. And despite there being 2 PMCs involved, Blackguard is really the only one that we deal with until the final confrontation and the big reveal that Blackguard and Kane Meyer share an employer. Diggle's not worried about throwing a whole bunch of characters and a whole bunch of ideas at us all at one time, because really, it comes down to Vance, who is managing Blackguard, and that's our main concern, and it works. Most of the narrative surrounds our disparate cast and how they come together, how they relate to each other, and the sparks that fly because of it. This is where the book really shines for me, so we will take just a little bit of a closer look at the cast. First off, we have Maria Vasquez, also known as the Tarantula. Maria originally appeared in 2006's Heroes for Hire series, which I did read when it was coming out, but don't remember all that much, and I actually got rid of all of my copies of the comic because that's a thing that I do. Ironically, during the writing of these Western episodes, I went to a comic book dollar sale and I found a good chunk of that volume of Heroes for Hire, and I ended up rebuying it anyways. Not because of the Tarantula specifically, like, reading Six Guns did not encourage me to buy that volume of Heroes for Hire. Rather, I just found a good amount of it, and I figured, why not? I might as well get it again. Because apparently, getting rid of comics and buying them 10 years later again is a thing with me. Ugh. Anyways, Maria is in her 20s or 30s, maybe younger. Again, comic book ages are kind of hard to pin down. She has long black hair with a red streak in it towards the front, and in this comic she pretty much wears street clothes. She does not have a superhero costume at all. She has on cowboy boots, jeans, a nice belt, a red top, and a cool-looking leather jacket. She has no superpowers either. She is just a skilled hand-to-hand combatant and an absolute badass. She is unstoppable in this book, y'all. Despite being captured by Dawson and his partner at the beginning of issue 1, she still argues her case passionately. When the Black Riders attack the transport and she is temporarily freed, she kicks Delilah in the guts, trying to escape. And after a few rounds of enhanced questioning by Blackguard soldiers after she is in their custody, Maria bites one of their hands, grabs their knife with her mouth, slices the guy's throat, and then escapes from captivity. Yeah, this woman ain't flooping around. For the most part, Maria is written as hard, maybe a bit emotionally closed off, and definitely a bit ruthless. But she also has a really nice sarcastic streak that kind of keeps her fun. After she escapes Blackguard, Maria steals one of their planes. Before she can fully take off, though, Matt Slade drives his car into the plane, damaging 2 of its engines. When he climbs on board and makes it to the cockpit, he shouts, "Hands in the air!" And she glares over her shoulder at him, asking if he knows how to fly this plane. He says no, of course, and she's like, "Well, you just damaged the engines and this thing is going down. If I take my hands off the wheel, we're gonna die. So I'm gonna keep my hands where they are. Thank you." And Slade just, relaxes his gun and he's like, "Oh, okay. I'll be over here then." And he just goes off into a corner. After they crash land, Slade tries again to take her into custody, and she just says no, and then keeps pushing towards her mission. I love it. She is easily the second most serious member of the cast, but she is very impressive in this story, and has her moments of levity and absolute badassery. Ranger Dawson, by contrast, is our lawman, of course. He is drawn into the story not out of a sense of righteousness, though. Rather, he is pulled into it by the mystery of it. Why did someone want the tarantula freed? She was already arrested. She would have been extradited to San Diablo anyways. So why bust her out? And why kill the Black Riders as part of it? And what did those people who did break her out want with the tarantula anyways? Dawson has to know. And so his boss puts him on compassionate leave so that he is no longer an active ranger. This frees him up to go where he wants, investigate what he wants, and do what he has to, while providing the agency with some plausible deniability. As Dawson gets pulled further and further into this conflict, he is still the guy who advocates against the outright murder of those who oppose the team, but he does kill people. Really, despite being a law official, Dawson is more than willing to play around outside the rules. When his job provides him with the chance and ability to work outside of their purview, he takes it. When confronted with a PMC protecting its secrets, on its private property, mind you, which I believe they could legally defend, he does kill their men. Dawson might be a ranger, but he is not against breaking the rules. This complements his relationship with Jefferson Cole, the Black Rider, really nicely. Dawson and Cole are almost a diametric pair in this comic, and it's really obvious why. Dawson is a law official who is willing to break the law, and Cole is an outlaw who lives by a code of honor. Cole is a big, muscular dude. He has this thick black handlebar mustache. You know, actually, he kind of looks like Danny Trejo to me, but like 6'3" and made of pure muscle. This dude looks intimidating. But he's a teddy bear. When Dawson's partner, Madigan, fires on the Black Riders and kills one of their numbers, the Riders automatically shoot him down. But Cole keeps them from killing Dawson as well. Partially because he knows that the Rangers will not give up on arresting them if they murder them. But also because he doesn't want this conflict to continue. He outright tells Dawson, "Yours killed one of ours, and we killed him back. We're square as far as I'm concerned." He has no problem with Dawson, or even the law in general. He just wants his people to be alive and free. When the Riders turn Maria over to Blackguard, he asks Vance why they want her, because he noted that she doesn't seem very happy to have been broken out of law enforcement. He cares about her, at least a little bit, and right now she's still a stranger to him. And he doesn't want her to be given up to some shady assholes who are going to do who knows what. Out of everyone in this book, Cole is the guy who cares the most, which makes his partnership with the two-gun kid a nice fit. After the death of his gang, Cole was able to trace back who made the bomb that did the deed. This brought him to a bar frequented by a man called Del Fuego, or the fire or the heat, vaguely, some kind of play on that. Cole doesn't even want Del Fuego dead. He just wants to know who hired him to make that bomb. Basically, he is looking for Vance's name because he doesn't know it yet. However, Del Fuego knows better than to give up a man like that, and he threatens Cole back, which is when we meet the kid. You see, Del Fuego is the reason that his brother is dead. Vance hired Del Fuego to bomb Fernando and the kid's house, and Fernando died in that explosion. Since then, Two Gun has come to this bar every day and played a first-person shooter arcade game, dual-wielding the pistols while he does so. He has been waiting for Del Fuego, and training while he does it. When Del Fuego begins to give Cole trouble, the kid takes advantage of the chaos and kills Del Fuego. Cole confronts him after, upset at the loss of his one lead, but the kid knows who employed Del Fuego, and that is how Cole gets pointed at Blackguard's facility. The kid plans to kill the people that killed his brother. He doesn't talk much in the story, except generally to give exposition, and he is the one who takes the title of most serious person here for the comic. This idea is actually reinforced by the video game that he is shown playing, because it's the Punisher arcade game. The Punisher and the kid both lost family members to organized crime. Both of them turned to violence in order to find justice/vengeance. Basically, Diggle is telling us that the kid is the Punisher, and the kid will go on to say that he learned how to shoot so well thanks to playing video games. Thanks, Two Gun and Andy Diggle, for really leaning into the stereotype. That's super appreciated. In the kid's defense, Cole does try to talk him down. When the kid says that he learned how to shoot from video games, Cole says that shooting a man is a lot different from shooting in a game. And the kid actually agrees. He doesn't like this. He does not find this fun. He knows that he's not playing a game. But it's still something that he has to do. Cole then recounts his own past mistakes and how he wishes that he could undo him, trying to convince the kid that right now this seems like the right thing for you to do, but in the future you're going to look back on this and wish you had done something differently. But the kid doubles down. Cole lost his family, right? He lost the entire Black Rider motorcycle gang. And if he did, then he knows what it feels like to lose everything. Kid is not going to stop. It's super tragic and really depressing, but the bond between Jefferson Cole and the two-gun kid in this is really great. It reinforces the idea that Cole cares for the people around him, and he still gets to be a stand-in big brother figure for the kid, who lost his own biological brother. Matt Slade, the mercenary, is the final member of our troupe, and, whether he knows it or not, he is the comedy relief. To be fair, he is not played funny. This is not a character who is trying to be a jokester like Deadpool, for example. He's just the butt of the comic's jokes. Slade is in this for the money, originally hoping to collect the bounty on Tarantula, but then he switches to the hush money that Roxxon would pay to keep the story of this mine quiet. But he's forced to go along with the actions of the others because, quite honestly, they continue to put him in danger as they continue their investigation. The plane that he actually helped crash with the Tarantula, it was a weapons transport for the war going on between Blackguard and Kane Meyer. But since that war was a smokescreen, all of the weapons are loaded with blanks. Slade is the one who discovers this because he confronts Blackguard's forces with their own weapons. He has this massive chain gun. He's standing on the plane. He's like, "Let's do this, motherfucker!" No swearing. And it starts firing. And it doesn't hurt anybody. So Slade ends up running to the mine and re-allying with the rest of the cast because Blackguard was going to kill him otherwise, shouting that Blackguard and Kane Meyer are connected and they're all one thing and we gotta get out of here, we gotta do something. The comedy really helps to round out the narrative as the rest of our cast is fairly serious and they're all played pretty straight. Slade, however, is an absolute dope, but he is a lovable dope. It took me a lot of the comic to develop a feel for Slade and exactly what he's trying to be. And when it occurred to me that this guy's the joke out of the whole book, all the pieces fit together and it just works really well. But wait, that is only 5 cast members, Ben. This is called 6 Guns. Where and who is the 6th gun? Remember though, the two-gun kid wields 2 guns. So 1 gun for each character. Maria, Dawson, Cole, and Slade, and then 2 guns for the kid. That's 6 guns. From a writing perspective, 6 Guns is very insular. Diggle does absolutely no work establishing this comic as part of the Marvel Universe at all. If you've never read that Heroes for Hire comic that I mentioned, you're going to get along fine. And as much as I love to see the various connections of the Marvel Universe present in their own comics, I have to admit that I really enjoyed how closed off this is. I think that anybody really could pick this miniseries up, maybe in like the trade paperback format, just read it and enjoy it and have almost no knowledge of Marvel Comics at all. That's a pretty rare thing, and I totally appreciate it. But for a Marvel geek, there are nods to the broader universe. As a more modern comic reader, Tarantula was the most obvious one to me in the beginning, and in researching all of these Western comics, I now know that the original Tarantula appeared in the original Ghost Rider comics. Listeners of the show might remember that he actually turned up in Blaze of Glory as the bad guy funding the attacks on Wonderment, Montana, having moved past his outlaw identity. The Two-Gun Kid is the second easiest nod, and the only kid character that Diggle chose to use by name. But Marvel has a big stable of kid characters. We've already covered characters like Kid Colt, the Rawhide Kid, and of course the Two-Gun Kid a couple times in the course of these episodes. But Diggle secretly worked a few more kids into 6 Gun. Most notably, the modern incarnations of Kid Slade and the Western Kid. Or, as they are known in 6 Guns, Matt Slade and Tex Dawson. The modern characters that we read about in 6 Guns have the same names as those Western characters, so that's a fun nod to continuity. They aren't reincarnations, they aren't descendants of, they're just a nice, hey, I'm aware that these characters existed in these books, but here's a modern interpretation and kind of a modern echo of those characters. And I think that's a lot of fun and it's really cool, especially because we haven't encountered Kid Slade or the Western Kid in this series of episodes. So this is a particularly deep Western cut for a modern Western comic published in 2009. The Black Rider, of course, is a new interpretation of the Black Rider, but these characters aren't the only nods to Marvel's past that we get. San Diablo first appeared in the original Journey into Mystery series, back when it starred Thor in issue 58. It is also the home country of the revolutionary fighter Ferdinand Lopez, aka Machete, who tried to seize control of the country for himself in the pages of Captain America. At least until he was killed, and then his brother took up the mantle. It doesn't have a lot of history in Marvel's comics, but one thing about San Diablo is clear. Its story is one of blood and violence. Davide Gianfelice is paired with colorist Dave McCaig, and I love their collaboration on this book. Gianfelice probably works digitally, as there is no credit for inking on this book, and his line work is very fluid. Everything looks very natural and round, his character poses feel human. His line work and framing really remind me of Carmine Di Giandomenico, who drew Vegas' story in Amazing Fantasy, actually. They both have that very fluid style, and they manage to capture the rough-and-tumble feel of a crime story very well. I love the way this book looks. The colors are all appropriate as well, but with a slightly animated feel to it. It matches the line work, which is, I think, the thing that works best for it, and I just dig the look of it overall. Looking up Gianfelice's work history, he has done quite a few comics, but not a lot of stuff that I've personally read. I'd love to see more of his work, so I might have to change that if the opportunity comes up. There's a few books on my list that I might pick up digitally if they go on sale. Ultimately, Six Guns tells a compelling, fast-paced, action-packed story with broad implications, with some fun and entertaining characters. It is easily right up there with some of the best Western comics that I have covered in this run for me, but it has such an amazingly different tone to it. As much as I enjoyed books like Blaze of Glory and Apache Skies, they're a bit dependent on knowing about Marvel's Western characters in order to really appreciate them. Or they're dependent on doing research on Marvel's Western characters, take your pick on which you like. Six Guns, however, stands alone. It's got some crime, it's got world traveling, it's got explosions and gunfights and close calls and plot twists and some solid writing and art, and I just highly recommend this one to y'all. If you're looking for a nice, easy read with some fun comics, see if you can hunt down Six Guns. I really enjoyed this. Next time, we'll be celebrating Marvel's 80 years of publishing history with a 2019 one-shot that explores our current chosen genre of focus, the Western. This time, our lead character is hunted by the sins of his past, sins that might destroy any hope that he has of a future. Join me in a week for Comic Book Breakdown episode 19.18, Gunhawks. Everyone, there are a million podcasts vying for your time and attention, and I'd like to thank you for listening to mine. If you would like to get in touch with me, to share a concern, request a series, compliment me, berate me, whatever you like, send me an email at cbbreakdown@gmail.com. Otherwise, thanks for listening.